Hey guys, my name's Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Could you let me know straight away if the audio is loud and clear? Because I had a bit of an issue with my microphone, hence why I'm a couple of minutes late. So I just want to double check. But please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Just like say yes, whatever. Let me know, just so I know. So we got lots to discuss, right? It's the breakdown. Welcome to the Breakdown podcast. This is going to be really interesting. And let me tell you something now, right? There is a lot to discuss. The good, the bad, the in-between. But, people need to relax a little bit. Don't get me wrong. In many ways, yesterday wasn't good. But in some ways, it was good. There's some good, there's some bad. There's context to everything. Shall I tell you what was very, very good yesterday? Was Lincoln. They had a game plan. They stuck to it, and they stuck to it real, real well. And because of that, it was very, very difficult for Cardiff City. Now, could we have done some things differently? Yeah, definitely. 100% we could have done some things differently. And I think not even with hindsight, I think we talked about a lot of them, or some of them is certainly in the previews and the build up to the game. But it's professional sport. It's a team sport. Things happen. Sometimes things don't go your way. Some days are more difficult than others. I don't really understand people's need to have a scapegoat. That's weird to me, but I get everyone's entitled to an opinion, I guess. To me, they're a team. The manager picked the team. We can assess it and we can give our opinion on whether we think he made the right decisions. We can give an opinion on whether you think someone played well or not. But the need for it to be somebody's fault, individually, is a bit weird to me. But anyway, we'll talk about it all. One of the things I want to talk about actually is the atmosphere in the stadium, because that is something which I've mentioned a couple of times, probably in the last couple of months. I am worried about it, because that stadium, when it's rocking, it's a great place. But a lot this season, it's almost like we're waiting for something to happen before we get loud and behind the team. And I say we because I'm part of the audience, part of the crowd. It is a weird thing to me, but yesterday, I just thought the atmosphere wasn't great. Considering I thought the Lincoln fans were, but it's always the away fans. They've had a long trip, they've had a few beers, and it's going well for them. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Let me know what you think about that. Have I got that wrong? It just feels like the atmospheres haven't been that great. But then, maybe that's part and parcel of being relegated, and there's a frustration there because of it. Who knows? Maybe we'll come back to that, circle back to that a little bit when people can have their say on it and their opinion on it. In terms of the game, I thought Lincoln done a job on us, and they did a job really well. It was really interesting in some of the build-up content which I did, and some of the stuff which I did with Jake. I had alluded to the fact that I thought that they were going to go to a back three to sort of deal with some of the things that we do very well, or we've done very well in the absence of Yusuf Salic. And there was one Lincoln fan who said, we don't play back three. And I was I didn't respond in the end, but I sort of was thinking, yeah, I didn't say you do. I said, I think you will. And they did. And it was a bit of a masterstroke from them, because it kind of nullified what we've been very good at. And I think Jake said in one of the videos we did last week, and we talked about it, is the one thing that he was worried about, that if we did might cause them a problem, is if we popped it about really quickly and we had those rotations of movement and we moved the ball quickly. But I just never felt like we really were popping it around with zip, and with that intensity. And intensity was a big thing for me. I do think this team, generally, we lack a bit of physicality. And I think you miss that, particularly with no use of Salic. You do lack a bit of physicality. But I think that game yesterday was winnable without use of Salic, if that makes sense. but you had to do certain things in a certain way to allow it. And I thought in many ways we played into Lincoln's hands a little bit, you know, putting the ball in the air for crosses plays into their hand, playing through the middle a lot played into their hands. We needed probably to get it a bit wider and quicker, and then, you know, address certain things. But it's it is a problem. And I think, look, you can't ignore our record versus the top six, or the sort of the playoff chasing sides, if you like. It's not as strong as the rest of the games. But on the flip side of that, we have got to play a few of them still the second time. And I think overall we're in a good position. One thing to remember is 7 days is a long time in football, particularly in the EFL, in a 3-game week. Lincoln have got a tricky trip to Exeter on Tuesday for their second away trip in a couple of days. If they slip up, I'm not saying they will, they don't look like they will, but they might. You never know. You see it so often. Teams raise their game and then for a big game, and then they slip up in the following game. You look at Plymouth. Plymouth raised their game against us and a few days later dropped points. They lost at home to Exeter already this season. Like, it's not unfathomable that they drop points to Lincoln. So all the Cardiff must do is go and make sure they don't make any silly mistakes. You have to do what we've done all season, which is respond when we've had a subpar performance, when we've had a subpar result. You can't ignore some of the issues. I think physicality is definitely an issue which needs to be addressed in the summer. Football, modern day football, you look at the Premier League, there's like most of the top teams are full of athletes, full of big, strong, physically strong, technically decent footballers. It's the kind of way football's gone. So I think there's areas to address. It wasn't just a physicality thing though. Like we didn't adapt. In my opinion, we didn't adapt during the game. I thought first half I thought was all right. I thought we were a better side, but we didn't create a lot. And in fact, a lot of our chances came from long range efforts. And then in the second half, we worked some nice little areas around the edge of the box and refused to take the shot. I think that was a little bit disappointing. And we just didn't have that pace and that directness in the wide areas. Ollie Tanner's had an off day, but he's been exceptional of late. Now, is it just as simple as he's more comfortable on the other side? I don't know. It seems weird, but like if a player's very comfortable on a certain side, sometimes it can be difficult for them to adapt. He was in good form, but we talked about it in the build-up to the game. There was definitely a bit of an elephant in the room, or a difficult decision for the manager to make, because you had Wintle kind of has got to play because he's the glue. Alex Robertson's been in top form, so he's got to play. That's your pivot. And then you've got Ruben's fit again, has been really, really good since he's come back. Joel Caldwell's been in exceptional form. Amari Kellyman has been a bit of a revelation since coming into the middle. And essentially you had to fit those three players into two positions. Then in the wide areas, you had Ollie Tanner, who's played a lot of football since his injury, since coming back from his injury, hasn't had a load of break, but has been in electric form. So you want him to play, you want him to start, but you're moving him. Kean Ashford, I think, probably deserved to retain his place in the starting lineup, or at least is very unlucky to be dropped or rotated. You've got Scanlon chomping at a bit. Obviously, with Isaac Davis out at the moment for a couple of weeks, you haven't got any real lightning pace. And he chose to go with Kellyman in the wide. Now, I think for me, and I'm not saying this in hindsight, like I said it in the build-up, I felt like it needed to be Kellyman through the middle, as the sort of false nine or whatever you want to call it, and then one of the Colwells behind him. Because I feel like Kellyman's fine wide against certain type of opposition. He's not electric pace, but he's got very quick feet. However, against a physical team with two very experienced wing backs, full backs in reach, and the other guy whose name I can't remember. Like, they're both very experienced, and I felt like Kellyman wasn't going to get much joy there unless he had someone like Scanlon with him on his side who was going to, or maybe Kpakio, who's going to like be electric pace to overlap. And it just all became a bit congested. It all became a bit slow. But I think I was more disappointed with the lack of adaptation in-game than I was the starting 11. I could understand why he went with the starting 11 he went with. Like, I fully can understand him wanting to get all those players in. They're all in form. They've all done well. And they're all dangerous, creative players. So I can understand trying to get Tanner, Kellyman, both Colwells, all in the side. By the hour mark, it was clear, like, we needed a bit of pace out wide, and we probably needed to change it up a bit. If you're going to play with a kind of false nine system, or a system where the striker is going to drop in, and remember when Callum Robinson came in, he didn't play as an out-and-out striker. Like, they were all dropping in to have it to feet. You have to have people who are going to run in behind with them. And we took off Joel Colwell. Alex Robertson was playing a little bit deeper to get on the ball and try and make something happen. So we didn't have a threat like in behind, and we didn't have runners breaking lines with their off the ball movement. It's difficult. Now, Lincoln are on an incredible run, and they did a job on us. And not only did they do a job on us in terms of, this is the plan, this is how we're going to make it difficult for Cardiff, but they were absolutely ruthless when they broke, or when they, like, when we gave the ball away, they went and they were ruthless with their finishing. And you can point to individuals in, like, you know, Tanner gave the ball away. I thought Osho was quite poor for the first goal. I thought Will Fish was quite poor for the second goal. Like, after Tanner gave the ball away, there was a lot to do. It's not just, oh, Tanner gave the ball away, it's his fault. He's given the ball away, yes, but there's work to be done between then and when they get the shot off. And it probably wasn't good enough. And overall, that's ultimately what it was, is we just weren't good enough on the day. Now, is it a worry that when the big crowds do come and the big games do come, we haven't perhaps really shown up? Yeah, and yes and no, I suppose, because look, Chelsea game, we turned up, right, and we were unlucky, but then there's no pressure. There's no pressure on that. There's no pressure on the Chelsea game. No one's expecting us to win. And we had a lot of possession, and we didn't do a lot with it, ultimately. I seen a lot of people like digging out Ruben Colwell on social media, and I don't really get it. Like, he did come too deep at times, but I think that's his natural instinct, is to drop deep and get on the ball and face up and create, which is why I think he's better probably in a bit of a 10-stroke free roll with someone in front of him. But overall, I just thought we weren't great. Like, we didn't even have much urgency. Like, the example I think I used in the 5 Things video, or it might have been player ratings, is like Willock, and I'm not digging Willock out, I'm just using it as an example. Like, Willock had the ball, we're like 1-2-0 down, and it's very like slow. There's no urgency to it. There's no like, oh, I'm going to get in behind, get this cross across, or I'm going to do something with it. It's like we've got all the time in the world. And I understand to a certain extent, you've got to You've got to be patient and you've got to keep playing. And that's worked for us this season. But look, if we slip up on Tuesday, we're going to make this a lot harder than what it needs to be. If we win on Tuesday, by the way, the gap between us and Bolton is back up to where it was. And there's a little bit more comfort, But I saw another thing I've seen on social media has been mad. It's like people saying like Trott needs to come out. Like I gave like spoiler, Nathan Trott, among others. Not many people got any. Well, no one got a decent rating, in fairness, but like Nathan Trott did get a low rating from me. I thought his distribution, particularly in the first half, was poor. I thought he could have done a little bit better with the first goal. I think it was. But like Nathan Trott has saved us so many points this season, and there's not a chance he gets dropped. Like, and I know should he. And I find it remarkable that people would think that. But then, like I said at the very start of the show, people do seem to see, or do seem to think that it's got to be someone's fault. Like, it's bizarre. But and I think like as good as this new system has been, or as good as the adaptation has been without Yusuf Salic, I think what yesterday did show that it's horses for courses, right? What we did need yesterday, even if it was off the bench, was a out-and-out striker who was going to occupy the centre-backs, even if that meant it wasn't going to get much of the ball, wasn't going to get much opportunities, because there was three good physical centre-backs, but they would occupy them and create space for other people. And I think that showed that. But then, another game, maybe Barnsley Tuesday, who knows? Like, this system will work fine and we'll probably, we'll score a lot of goals. We've done it many times. It's weird. Like, but I would say, look, my message to people would be, don't panic. I would also say that maybe the record against the Big Six is part of the learning curve for some of the younger players. Like, it's high pressure situations, and maybe they're getting to grips. And we're still in our hands. It's still comfortable in terms of there's a gap. I understand the disappointment. I understand the frustration. I understand a bit of anger. Like, I was very emotional yesterday, very frustrated, very annoyed. But it's not, like we said in the build-up to the game, not the end of the world. The title wasn't decided yesterday. We could be top again on Tuesday. We could be top again next Saturday, or we might not be. What we need to do is take one game at a time. There's 10 games left. You win more. If we win most of our 10 games, then we'll get promoted. But we got to stick with the team, got to stick with the manager. Like, assessing a game, assessing the performances of the team, the individuals, the tactics, whatever. That's not being fickle. That's not being negative. That is just looking at the game and seeing what you see. Looking for scapegoats and saying certain things about people, like they should never wear a Cardiff shirt again and blah, blah, blah. Like, I got no time for that at all. It's embarrassing. But yeah, look, we weren't at it, and Lincoln did a good job. Let's have a look at some of the comments. I've got some other stuff where I want to delve into. JT says, you're just talking about that. Fans wanting Trott dropped are in panic mode. You do not drop your number one for the run-in. Seems BBM doesn't rate Turner or Tyra, has not been named in weeks. I think it's more that he wants the outfield options than whether he rates them or not. But look, I see he hasn't picked them at the end of the day. Lewis says, all this nonsense that we don't need Salic proved that we did after yesterday. No presence in the box whatsoever. Yeah, mate, it's horses for courses, isn't it? And like, I think playing a false nine or a striker who's going to drop and look for feet and drop deep, two things. One is very, very difficult to do against 3 centre-backs because one can follow him in and you've still got 2. And 2 is even more difficult to do if you haven't got a lot of movement running in behind, because that's the point of it, is to create space for people to run into. Like Salic, that was a game, even though I believe if Salic was fit, I believe they would have probably played 4 at the back and gone with 2 centre-backs, because I think they changed to 3 to deal with the rotations and the movement that we've seen off, the past few weeks. We scored a lot of goals of late, and they nullified that by doing that. But they would have enjoyed the physical battle against Yusuf Salic. However, he would have occupied them, like I said. Okay, a few people saying about the audio. Thank you. David says our record against the top teams is pretty poor. It's not great, mate, is it? But that doesn't. We still got to play some of them. Like that Bolton game could end up being big if we drop points the next couple of weeks. But I just think like 7 days is such a long time in football. We could be looking a whole lot. Like next Saturday or next Sunday at this time. Right, so what's the time? 20 to 9, right? Someone remind me next Saturday how we're looking. Could be worse, could be better. Like it could be all kinds of different. Graham says, not a good weekend for football. Instance at the City game and then Rangers and Celtic today. Yeah. There's always a few which spoil it, mate, for others and stuff. And like, disappointing to see. None saying it is what it is, I suppose. Very, very disappointing. Paul says, gutted we didn't show up what we could really do. Well done to Lincoln. We'll bounce back. We are. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it, mate. It was frustrating to say the least. And sometimes I think you've maybe just got to give, because when I look at it overall, and I didn't get to watch the whole game back, but I watched a bit of it back this morning. I will say, we weren't terrible. There was a few things lacking. Tempo, I thought, was a big problem. And movement off the ball as the game went on got less and less. But we weren't terrible. Sometimes you just got to give credit to Lincoln or your opposition and say, look, they've done really well. Ryan says, we all turn up expectant these days. No result is a gimme. Atmosphere went flat once we went behind, especially after the second. Yeah, so this is something I've kind of alluded to a couple of times, mate, over the last month or two, is I feel like there is a bit of expectancy in the crowd this season, or certainly in the last month or two, whereby the crowd turns up and almost just expects to win and score multiple goals. And until something happens, the crowd's very quiet. And it's a problem, because this young team, if we do, drop more points over the next few couple of games, they're going to need the crowd behind them and with them to get them over the line. And I just think it's definitely an issue, mate. 100% is an issue. And then you go away and the crowd and the atmosphere is so good and so behind the team. It's like night and day, and it's trying to replicate that at home. I don't know what the answer is, because it's definitely not the same. Bob Banks says all the Asbos were back yesterday, weren't interested in supporting the team, more interested in throwing things on the pitch and booing our own players. Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. EM says, disappointing yesterday, but we move on. I agree on the atmosphere. It was very nervous. I think everyone knew they'd do a job on us. You could see we'd have all the ball, but they'd hit us. Yeah, we said it in the preview, mate, that they were going to be very happy to let us have the ball, and just we were going to have to break them down, and we just didn't have it. The urgency, I thought, was lacking. The intensity was lacking. And just that bit of quality. I do think, for instance, A Ruben shot in the first half where the keeper makes a great save. That goes in before half-time. It's such a different game. Ruben's shot in the second half, which he put like inches wide, that goes in. Like suddenly there's like it's going to be a big finish. Same like Robbo had a shot from the edge of the box. Like just these little moments that we just weren't able to take advantage of. I thought there was a few opportunities in the second half to really shoot, and we didn't. And I get it's like sometimes the crowd's saying shoot from like 35 yards out, and it's on the player's wrong foot, and you're like, well, you're not going to shoot today. But there was a few opportunities there. I thought we worked it quite well on the edge of the box. It opened up a little bit. Two players who are good at shooting as well, and we didn't take it on. Matthew says, it will be fine. Lincoln still might drop points. Title race is way open. Only 2 points in it. Lincoln came with a plan, executed it. Based on the way they play, though, I feel they'll struggle in the championship. Possibly, mate. I think you've got to just give them credit, haven't you? Ultimately, I think the title race is nowhere near over, mate. It's 2 points. Just as if we had like opened up a 4 or 5 point gap, I don't think it was over. Like I said, we could be back top by Tuesday end of play on Tuesday night. Like it is what it is. How many times do you see big game teams lift it, they get the result, and then a couple of days later they drop points in a game they shouldn't? Now, you know, Lincoln deserve to be where they are. We deserve to be where we are as well, though. You know, like people seem to forget that. Like we're in the top two with a gap between the rest of the teams. We're there. We've done that. We're on merit. We've done that. Doesn't matter which teams we've beaten. We are there on merit. And, you know, yeah, maybe against top 6, top 8 teams, we haven't got the best record, but won't matter if we finish in the top 2. And I still think there's 10 games, there's 30 points to play for. Take 30 points. Lincoln at the very least are going to draw one game or lose a game. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go win 10 games. We have the ability to go win 10 games. It would be very, very difficult to do that. And if we won 10 in a row, we bloody deserve to win the league, right? But what I'm saying is, go win and go. Just what we need to do is make sure we do not lose any more games. In the next 10, don't lose. And I think that's realistic. But we've got to be at it. And I think that there's 2 things which I think the manager's got to do. I think he's got to pick up defensive centre-back pairing and stick with it. And I think he's got to freshen up the starting lineup a little bit. Because I do feel like there's a few tired legs in there. And I thought we lacked a bit of pace yesterday. So I'd like to see us stick with a centre-back pairing for the run-in if we could do so without, you know, injuries and stuff like that. Bob Banks says, Lincoln didn't allow our players to get the fans up for it. Atmosphere was okay first half, but got killed after the first goal. Yeah, like I was also sat in a different spot yesterday, which I didn't like. I liked my seat, and I was in the Premier Lounge yesterday, and yeah, look, I appreciate it. By the way, I had tickets off Dragon Sports and stuff, and I really appreciate it. But I like my seat. I like my view. But yeah, no, it was a different experience, different part of the grounds. But yeah, probably not for me. EM says too many off games, as you mentioned in 5 things. We knew they'd lump it in the box and be direct, and we didn't. We didn't look like we worked on it. Trott was so flappy on the first few and was really nervy. Yeah, yes and no, mate, because we didn't concede from set piece, and I didn't really think I'm trying to think top of my head now. Like, I didn't think they came super close off a set piece to score in. I think it's very difficult for goalkeepers with those sorts of things. They got to come through bodies and stuff like that. Like, I get what you're saying, but we got done on the transition ultimately. That's interesting. Gav says he watched the Celtic Rangers game today. Very bad football teams. We play better football than the pair of them put together. Yeah. And the thing is as well, is as you go up the leagues, that type of football goes further, if that makes sense. Like you look at what we did to Burnley and look at how we performed against Chelsea. Like I think it will see us in good stead. We will need some physicality in the summer. And equally, the manager needs to have, well, I think it's quite harsh. Like I said it, like he's got to have a plan B, like he's got to change it. But in fairness to him, we're probably using plan B from the start, right? Because if Salic never gets injured, you're looking at plan B in action. So really it's like a plan C or D. But I would like to see us do something different. Like, so here's a hypothetical for you. During the game, now I'm not saying I wouldn't have started. I would have absolutely, you have to start Ryan Wintle. But during the game, once it became very clear, so say just after halftime, when it became, especially second half, they became very clear that they were going to sit in. Their block had gone from probably a mid to low block to a low block in the second half. And they were waiting for us to lose the ball and then hit us quickly, directly on the transition. They weren't really trying to play out from the back. They weren't really trying to play through the thirds in the second half. So could we have sacrificed Wintle and put Robertson into the 6 and kept Joel on, done it that way, and tried to get some pace out wide and varied it up a little bit, put Kellyman into the middle? Like, could we have changed something? Could we have been riskier? Could we have been more, like, just tried something different? Like, and I felt like at times some players chose to keep the ball rather than take a risk. And ultimately, sorry, I'm looking for something. I apologize. Ultimately, when you're losing, or it's a big game and things are going against you, or what's happening is not working, you have got to take a risk. You've got to do something different, or you need a bit of magic. And one of my biggest criticisms of previous managers over the last few years has been making and forcing players like Ruben and these creative players, forcing them Willock, like forcing them to just keep the ball rather than sometimes just trying to do something outrageous, which they're very capable of doing. And I don't think Brian Barry Murphy, by the way, is telling them to do that. I just think for whatever reason, they played with a little bit of fear yesterday in terms of what they were doing. And maybe it's because it was a big game. Maybe it was because it was top versus second and they didn't want to be the ones to blaze it over or take a risk and lose the ball. But I would have liked to have just seen a bit more bravery in that element of things, if that makes sense. Matthew says Skabala's done an unbelievable job. Manager of the season, no doubt. But at the start of the season, I'd have been more than happy with the playoffs. We're in the top 2 and we're 8 points clear. Yeah, we're doing fine, mate. It's difficult. You know, we've lost for the first time in a long time. Well, first time in a very long time, we have lost 2 games close together. Every time we've lost the game previously, we've kind of gone on a bit of a run, haven't we? So it is difficult. And I think it puts pressure on Tuesday for sure, because you can't let Bolton and Bradford like back in the door. Like, you just let them in. If we do not win on Tuesday, we let them in. And that just ramps up the pressure. You put Barnsley away on Tuesday by hook or by crook, whether it's 1-0 or 5-0, put them to bed, get 3 points, and it just kills their belief a little bit, because they are buzzing now because Bolton come back from 2-0 down in like the 88th minute. They're flying confidence-wise. You got to kill that a little bit by going to Barnsley and doing a job and just being a professional and winning. Doesn't matter how. Like, of course, I would love to see us go up there and batter them, but I'll take a scrappy 1-0 all day long. Clean sheet, last-minute winner. Although I don't know if my nerves or my heart will take a last-minute winner, but still. Paul says, gutted we didn't show how good we can be. I thought BBM got the lineup wrong, tinkered with it, but we were too tippy tappy. Credit to Lincoln, heck of a run they're on. Were they the better team? I don't think they were, but they were the more effective team ultimately, and that's what it's about. It's taking your chances. We created chances, like didn't take them. We got into good positions and didn't do something with it in those positions. Lewis says we lost 2 of the last 3. Tuesday is now massive because you don't want to let Bolton and Bradford back in. Yeah, I agree, but the reactions have generally been good. EM says in Lincoln came with a plan. Don't concede, we'll get a chance. They did it twice. Fair play to them. But I'd rather be in our position, squad management-wise. Interesting. Paul says, I thought only one team wanted to play football, and that was us. I mean, mate, it's been like that majority of the season, but probably Doncaster. Who else? Bradford when they came to our place, not so much at their place. A few teams have tried to play, but most teams have not. Why would they? As well, you've got to have a plan. Ryan says Lincoln lost Exeter at home already this season. Yeah, that's no gimme for them. And they'll be tired and they'll have to rotate a little bit, or they run the risk of being a bit tired. They've also got Stockport on Saturday, and Stockport have had a week's rest due to the FA Cup. So look, I cannot state enough. Like, we just got to win the next 2 games, or just by hook or by crook, and then see where we are, because could easily be in a very good position all of a sudden. Like, it's not the end of the world. The title wasn't won yesterday. We're not back in the playoffs. We haven't missed out on anything. It was a bad day. And we weren't even that bad. Like, that's the thing to remember. And I think, I think the intensity and the urgency and the like certain elements of those things, those metrics, weren't quite right, but we also weren't awful. Like, we did some good stuff. We looked after the ball majority of the time, created some chances. Just needed to be a bit braver, a bit more attacking at certain points. Play with a bit. We do know. I still think we lack pace. Like, you take Isaac out of the squad and we are lacking pace. So that was why I just thought it was weird that Scanlon wasn't used. I expect Scanlon. I would, in my opinion, Scanlon will start on Saturday. Matthew says there's enough technical ability in this team to do well in the championship. However, we need some genuine pace in the summer, another striker, a left back, and a physical monster or 2. I don't disagree, mate. I think I stand by what I said at the start of the season in the summer. If we had added a central midfielder who was big but technically able to play the system, that was a game changer for this team. And I stand by that still. Jamie makes a great point. Doing well considering the budget, but we definitely could do with a couple of adults in the squad. I think what we need, mate, is with the greatest of respect, we need some real men in there, like physically, but who are also technically proficient enough to play, to start without dropping the level of the team, if that makes sense. Graham says, at one stage we had 5 players playing to each other on the wing with one person in the box. Yeah, we just didn't get the players in the right areas, do we? David says, Tanner looked tired to me. Yeah, I thought he looked frustrated after about 20 minutes, mate. Matthew says, we lack pace out wide. Only Davis says blistering pace. None of the other wide options have it. If we had pace out wide, we beat that Lincoln team. We just didn't have enough in behind. Yeah. It's hard to disagree, mate, but so Graham says, Lincoln have been unbelievable. They'll not slip up much more in the running. They have the incentive now. No, I disagree with that, mate. Like, they had not that they've been unbelievable. They have. All I said, and I stand by, is they won't win 10 games in a row. They won't win the next 10 games. If they do, fair play to them, but I don't believe they will win the next 10 games. They might not lose any, but they will not win all 10, in my opinion. Gav says he's looking forward to playing Lincoln in the Championship next season. Graham says, disappointing another crowd didn't get beyond the team when they scored. That's not the Cardiff way. Really strange. Yeah, there was a few bits that didn't feel very Cardiff yesterday, mate, to be honest. Gavin says, we started the game with a team that finishes games when looking for a goal, etc. Yeah, I understand why he went for that 11. Like, I really do. And I almost think, yeah, I think that's what I would have gone for, because I'd want to get them all in. But then actually, when you take a step back and you look at it, Kellyman was always going to struggle out wide against either side, because he hasn't got that blistering pace. And he's been so good in the middle. But then last week, Ruben was so good in that position. Joel Colwell has been so good through the middle. So I understand the difficulty in trying to work out, or like trying to choose and fit them all in. Ultimately, I think it comes down to he didn't want to drop Joel. He didn't want to drop Ruben out of the side. And he wanted to get Kellyman back into the starting 11 after he missed out last week. And he was somewhat... There's only so many ways you can do that, right? Jonathan says, it was an attacking side I wanted to see, although the wingers were on the wrong side, but it didn't work. Ruben didn't work as a 9, drifting back into the midfield instead of getting forward. And then Gaz says Ruben's not a 9. Well, he can play the false 9 as long as you've got runners behind. But I think Kellyman's much more suited to that role, because particularly when teams are compact and they get 11 behind the ball, Ruben's happy to drop deeper to get on the ball and face up. Kellyman will drop in, but he drops into the half spaces, like in between the centre backs and in between the centre backs and the wingers and in behind the defensive midfielders. So he's suited to that sort of false 9. But either way, if Kellyman drops in, or is Ruben or someone else, even if it was Robbo, if you haven't got people running and attacking the space behind them into the spaces they've vacated, it doesn't work anyway. So Jonathan says I'd say we need 6 wins from 11 games to secure automatic promotion. You're probably right. You're probably right. You are probably right. But I could also see a world where we don't need that many wins. This league is so all over the place in terms of the teams chasing and the results. Graham says, has Trott been off his normal standards, missed a few crosses? I think he's looked nervous since he made the mistake, mate, if I'm honest. I thought he had looked a bit better of late, like he looked like he was getting his confidence back. But that mistake at Leyton Orient definitely knocked his confidence. JT says we'd have been better off signing McGoldrick like a striker instead of Tyler. It's a waste having 3 keepers when we don't use a sub-keeper. I think, yeah, I don't disagree. And I think ultimately, I think if the manager didn't fancy Robbo, as he doesn't really seem to, and with Sadic out for an undetermined amount of time, I do think he's close to coming back. But like if he was out for an undetermined amount of time in the end of January, you do think could we have got someone in, even if it was on the short term, to bolster the ranks? I don't know. Like maybe they're happy with Kellyman playing through. I quite like Kellyman through the middle, so I just think just because yesterday didn't work doesn't mean that suddenly hasn't scored a shed load of goals for us. Like that doesn't change how successful that system has been and that the personnel has been playing that system. But we do need another plan. (1927) GB says we need to keep our nerve here. Here we're 8 clear with a game in hand. Port Vale, Blackpool, Northampton, Wickham, Bolton to come. Mansfield, Huddersfield, Reading, Peterborough, all winnable games and better than Bolton. But Bolton's last 7 is insane. Just chill in it and just play. Interesting. JT says, I bet the house Lincoln finished bottom in the championship. You can't succeed in the championship with 23% of the ball. Our style will thrive in the championship if BBM is backed. That's a big if. I'm not sure if they'll finish bottom, mate, because I think they're a good team that knows their roles very well. And it obviously depends on who they sign and stuff. But I don't necessarily disagree with some of the stuff you said. Steven Schumacher is very capable of going on a run. The reason why I don't necessarily think they will this time around is this last 7 games are mental that they've got. Like, it's just such a difficult run in. And look, if they go and win all their games, perhaps they deserve it, like, because it's crazy. But Jonathan says Trott's been nowhere near as good or confident since his mistake. Everything looks more rushed for him. Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? Bob Bank says similar to what I just said. I didn't see that, sorry, mate. He says Schumacher won 11 of his last 12 with Plymouth a couple of years ago to gain automatic promotion. We have to have the mindset that he's going to do it again. 100%. You've just got to have the mindset that we're like, you have to win every game. And we just got to take it every game as it comes and treat it like a cup final. Just, this is must win, go win. And when I say treat it like it's must win, I don't mean panic. I mean, tactically, BBM's got to have a plan and he's got to have a backup plan. He's got to go for it and he's got to be secure at the back. And I do think, and I was speaking to someone who's been involved with football a lot over the last 15, 20 years, and I was talking to them this morning about this switching of centre-backs, and he said he was surprised at how well it's gone for us because having a settled centre-back pairing is so important. And I'll tell you something, Lincoln, in Hamer and Sonny Bradley, very rarely do those two not play. And they play the same sort of spine most games. Adam Reach plays most games, like they're some experienced heads in there and they know their jobs. And maybe the constant switching is not helping us because you can't get the chemistry and the run. And that's why I thought Dylan and Will Fish did so well at the start of the season because they had the most chemistry. I thought Osho and Dylan Lawler were very, very good last week away at Doncaster. Is that the pairing he's going to sort of go with? I thought Dylan looked good when he came on. A little bit of a cameo. It's difficult, isn't it? One is duels and stuff. But do we think maybe... Right, so here's a question then. With Osho's recent form, is your preferred partnership still, and I speak generally because most people said this, but would you still go Lawler and Fish? Would you change it up a bit? Chambers and Fish, Chambers, Lawler? Like, what's your partnership pairing if you had to pick two which are going to play majority of the games now for the rest of the season and you were going to kind of stick with them? Bob Banks says, always remember when we beat the Jacks with Bellamy scoring under Dave Jones, both going for promotion, and I thought we'd won it that day. We won the battle, but they won the war that season by going up. 100%, mate. And nothing was decided yesterday. Like, they didn't win the title, and if they think they have, that's an error on their part. Like, we have to go and do the business now. We could be top by Tuesday. Like, let's not forget that. We could be top. if things really went our way in the next 5-6 days, we could not only be top, we could have a bigger gap than we had yesterday. If they were suddenly lose 2 on the bounce, I don't think they're going to lose 2 on the bounce, but we just got to go and do the business. And I think Tuesday's going to be edgy for a little bit, and we've got to just do our thing, innit? Graham says, strange game. Didn't see either team scoring. Yeah, I thought it's weird, right? Before they scored their first goal, I thought we looked really comfortable, and I felt like we were the only ones who were gonna score. But just shows how like a little error, little sloppy pass, gave the ball away in the wrong area, and suddenly you're done, and you're behind. Let's have a look what else people are saying. Paul says we can now do the chasing, see if Lincoln can handle the pressure of clubs up in their games against top of the league club. Yeah, and I'm not sure that teams will do it, mate, against them. With the greatest of respect to Lincoln, like, and I don't mean this like as a dig either. Like, for whatever reason, teams and referees have done things differently when they've played against Cardiff. You only got to look at Plymouth the other week. They played us on the Saturday lunchtime and played out with their skins. Put their best performance of the season by far. And literally a couple of days later, they lost to Luton. And it happens. Like, for whatever reason, teams have upped their performances against us. I'm not going to get into that. Graham says, do we start Robbo on Tuesday? I wouldn't, mate. Honestly, like it's nothing against him. I would go with Kellyman through the middle. I would give Tanner a rest, and I would have I'd have Kean on one side and Willock on the other side. Kellyman through the middle. One of the Colwells in the 10. Robertson, Wintle. Scanlon left back, Pacquiao or NG, depending on how edgy is. And then I'm going Lawler, Fish, probably. That would be my team on Tuesday. I just think Robbo struggles to play the way we want to play, mate. And unfortunately, this time of the season, I'm not sure that we can afford to switch it up. But he has got a lot to prove. And maybe some fresh ideas would be the right thing to do. I don't know, mate. Yeah, maybe. Gav says Lincoln kick off at 12:30 on Saturday. Advantage them if they get 3 points. It does put pressure, doesn't it? Unless they slip up on Tuesday. But also, it can work the other way as well if they slip up. Dylan says certain views from people are acting like the season's over. We got plenty of games left. One slip up from Lincoln, we could mean we're top of the league as long as we do our part. 100%, mate. I've been saying it's like bizarre. David says even with 5 at the back, Lincoln seemed to have a man over in the midfield too. Well, that's because they played they got 11 men behind the ball, mate, all the time. Like, they were so quick, and that's the one thing you got to say with Lincoln. Every single player is so disciplined behind the ball as quick as possible. They all shuffle together. They all move together. They're all talking constantly. The gaps between each player, each unit, like the gaps are so small. It's very difficult to even get a bit of space. And I just think they're very, very good at it. And you got to move the ball quick to deal with teams like that. And we just ultimately didn't move the ball quick enough. Jonathan says, when Trott was at his most confident and at his best, he was drawing attackers in, taking it around them and playing them, toying with them. I think he's got that mistake playing it. Yeah, 100%, mate. And that's natural, mate. Especially now as the season ramps up. Like, you don't want to make that mistake again. EM says, Lincoln at the top of the league. Can they handle the pressure? It's a different kettle of fish to chase. And it is different, mate. Reese says, a lot easier to do that as a keeper when it's early doors in the season. Harder, maybe, John, to do. Yeah. And then Reese also says, but I agree, he does look off his best, but I wouldn't be dropping him anytime soon. I can't remember many goals he's let in since that mistake that he should have done better with. Like, he doesn't look as confident with the ball at his feet. I agree 100%. But I also think he's been told to go a bit more direct than he was earlier in the season. I say that I do think he should have done a bit better for the first goal yesterday, if I'm honest. Paul says, season's not finished yet. All to play for. Plenty of ups, plenty of downs. We just have to get the results now and put pressure on them around us. Yeah, mate, we're Cardiff City. We were never going to do it the easy way, were we? Let's be honest. JT says, a front four of Willock, Ashford, Colwell, Robinson would be a lot more balanced than the 11 we started with yesterday. I don't disagree with that, mate. I'm not sure about Robinson at the moment, because when I see him playing in the 9, I'm not sure he fits with the way we want to play, but I think he can. I just wish he'd play on the last man and play more as like an old school number 9, like, you know, the big man, little man combinations we saw back in the day, like almost like that, but without the big man. So he's on the last man, on the shoulder of the last man, always looking to get in behind and stretch the pitch. And then that way creates space for other people. I think he's so good at that. And I think because of the way we've wanted to play this year, he's been asked to adapt his game and come to get it to feet. And I don't think that's what he's best at. He's done very well at his link-up plays, improved so much this year. But I just think he's best off the shoulder. But he can't press is the problem. And I think that's the other side of that, is I think if Isaac was fit, we'd have seen Isaac through the middle yesterday at some point in the game because of his pace. 1927 GB says Bolton have a terrible last 7. They need to be perfect now. If we won 6 of 10, it's 90 points. Bolton would need 26 more points to hit 90. They would need to win at least 8, and that's only if we win 6. All we can do is just do it one at a time, just win in it and see what happens around us. Jonathan Mordecai says, we lack tempo, we lack cutting edge, but it was hard to create much when they had a low block. Crowded the centre area very well, like a more efficient Wigan with a clinical counter-attack. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. But also, there's ways to break down a low block, and we just didn't do any of those things remotely well enough, like at all. Graham says a few boos at the end of the game was crazy. Yeah, it was mind-blowing, mate. There was 2, wasn't there? But you are right. Tanner made. It was Tanner who forced the great save, wasn't it? And then Ruben had another one. But yeah, like, we were very good at times and not so good at other times. Reece says, I will say I didn't think Ruben looked back to his early season best, at least not yet. Granted, looked relatively sharp in previous games, but he was unusually sloppy on times. I love Ruben too. I'm a big fan. I thought he was excellent against Doncaster, mate. I thought he was really, really good. He was trying to make things happen yesterday, wasn't he? And there was times when he was trying to force it. I think I said that earlier, like he was trying to force it. And on one hand, I'm saying, like, we've got to take risk and you've got to try and do something. But then on the other hand, critical because he's giving the ball away or he's trying to force it. Like, it's a very difficult balance to find. Bluebird FC 11 says, why swap Tanner? Doesn't look the same player on the left. It's hard not to disagree, mate, especially when you could have put Kean left. Kean was very good last week and has been really good off the bench of late as well. Like, I didn't really understand other than trying to not shoehorn, but like trying to get all the the Colwells and Kellyman all in together. And I think Kellyman prefers it off the right. I think Kellyman's fine wide against certain opposition. I just didn't think that Lincoln was the opposition where he was going to thrive. Let's have a look. Bluebirds 11 says Osho and Fish didn't work well. Yeah, probably. I think they probably don't complement each other as well. I thought Osho and Lawler really complemented each other well. I think the most balanced centre-back pairing we have is Fish and Lawler. I think their chemistry is so good and they do the opposites almost of each other. Yeah, maybe. Sometimes it's chemistry in it with centre-backs. Paul says, side question, do you think some of our players look out of form? Interesting. I think some of our players, a couple of them look tired. Like, I think Joe Bagan looks tired. I think Will Fish looked a little bit rusty yesterday, where he's been in and out of the team. I think Kapakio looked maybe like a little bit like he hadn't played for a while, although I thought he was pretty good, or decent, should I say, not pretty good. Not overly, mate. Like, I think Joel Colwell's in great form. I think, or has been in great form. I think Alex Robertson's been in very good form. I think Ruben's looked sharp since he come back. Kellyman's been in good form through the middle. Tanner's been in good form. Willock maybe is like, yeah, he was in really good form, wasn't he, after Christmas, and maybe he's sort of eased off a little bit. I think Kean looks pretty sharp. So I don't overly think they look out of form. Like, in fact, I think a lot of them look in decent nick. It's an interesting stat. Reece says Osho's been involved in 3 out of the 7 losses. He says he was poor for the first goal and not good enough with the ball at his feet. I love the guy's persona and I wish well for him, but he's 4th choice centre-back. Chambers 3rd. I don't think there's a great deal between him and Chambers, if I'm honest. I think they offer different things in a different way. I could make an argument for either. Honestly, mate, I really believe that Fish and Lawler is still the best combination, but I don't think in the run-in that BBM will go with a 20 and a 22-year-old, even though I think he probably should. And I tend to agree with you where you've said, I've got a funny feeling we'll see Dylan and Chambers on Tuesday. I actually don't like them two together. I don't know what it is. They make me like, it just, yeah. Ryan says Trott being dug out is a shocker. Same up Burton. We couldn't handle long throws, and Lincoln knew that nobody really took responsibility at the back. Geraint says if we go upside, we definitely need 5 established championship players. Otherwise, we'll struggle. My biggest worry is if we don't go up, we're going to lose our better young players and possibly BBM. That's obviously the worry, mate, if we don't go up. I'm not sure about 5, mate, but I could definitely make an argument for like 3. I don't know. It's difficult, right? Because when you look at it, we definitely need a left back. And by the way, Joel Bagan hasn't signed a new contract, so we could need 2. Nathan Trott is on loan. Who knows, like, what a crack is with that. So we might need a goalkeeper. So that's like 2 without even getting to strengthening the squad, really. Yeah, maybe 5 is right, mate. I don't know if they have to be established championship players. They just have to be of the required quality, I guess, don't they? Paul says, right, agree, so we should have taken more risks. I said Kellyman should have played through the middle. Ruben dropped back, Tanner on the right, Ashford, who added more pace. I think he should have come on at halftime. Yeah, I thought Ashford did quite well, mate. Right, last couple, I didn't realise the time got taken away. Reece says, I did say a few weeks back when everyone was confident we would go up, I said it would go to the wire, and I still see Bolton now in a last late charge, making it squeaky bum time. But it'll be as squeaky bum time as we make it, won't it? If we win the next 3 or 4 games, we'll have one foot there. Like, you know, it's one of them. Jonathan says Chambers was centre back for Blackpool and Plymouth losses, which, by the way, were the second half versus Blackpool and the Plymouth game were the worst defensive performances of the season. But I think that was in response to someone saying about the Osho stat. Look, it's a team game at the end of the day. Gav says I'd go for Lawler and Chambers on Tuesday. John says McGoldrick, I don't think is very physical, so Lawler would be a good game for him. Gav blaming Ruben, like terrible. He says we didn't lose a game when Ruben was injured. Now we've lost. Now he's fit. We've lost 2. Disgraceful. John said Ruben was good v Doncaster. Just don't think he's a 9. He wants to be in midfield too much. Kellyman offers an outlet while playing there. Yeah, I agree with that, mate. I do. I really do. It's JT says BBM says we don't play a false 9, but we've got eyes. Both Kellyman and Colwell drop into midfield when playing up top. Yeah, that was a weird one. Do you know what, as well? Like, it's not just those, but even when Robinson plays, he drops into the midfield. So I think it's one of them, isn't it? It was a strange comment. Yeah, I agree with that, Adam. He says Fish and Lawler got to be the partnership in the majority of the games. They really should be, mate. Even though they're the youngest pairing, I think they're the best pairing. They've got the most chemistry, and I think they make us the most secure. It's no coincidence that we went on that run of not conceding a goal from open play when they were playing. I'm going to fly through some of these guys, so I apologise ahead of time if I've missed your comment. Dan says he's the one who's been blaming Ruben all over social media. Nasty boy. No, I'm only joking, of course. He says, I think we really missed NG, being so good lately, and he just adds some experience to the back line. Like Ronan, but he's weak in reading of the game at times and sometimes finding blanks. I thought Ronan did all right yesterday, mate. I got to be honest. I do agree with you. I think we missed Perry's experience, and he's just got that bit of nous about him, haven't he? And he's been in such good form. But I thought Ronan did all right considering he hasn't played much. Adam says Lincoln and Bolton kick off early doors Saturday. So that's why it is so important to win on Tuesday. Because if we lose Tuesday and then they win, like that gap is right down and no more game in hand. So we got to make sure on Tuesday. I don't care how we do it, just win. Hopefully NG will be back because Cleary's real, he's decent. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, right, BBM's got to make the tough decisions. That's why he's the boss. And I said it in the build-up, so I'm not saying it in hindsight, but I felt like he needed to pick one of them to put on the bench. And really, if you look at historically over the season, and you look at it as Joel, Ruben, and Kellyman, the ones who've had more impact off the bench are Ruben and Kellyman. Joel, I think, doesn't always have the same impact when he comes off the bench. So with that in mind, he probably should have gone with one of Kellyman or Ruben and put the other on the bench. But I understand why he tried to fit them all in. I really do. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, going to leave it there. Thank you so much, as always. I appreciate all the comments. I know I missed some towards the end. I just ran out of time. Stick with it, boys and girls. We're in a good position. Got to get a result on Tuesday. That's the one for me. Got a player ratings out in the morning or in the lunchtime tomorrow. I mean, I'll give you a little spoiler. There's not many good ratings in there, but we go into the data, we go into the detail of it and the eye test and everything, which, you know, we have a proper look at it, as we always do. We don't just criticize or just, we try and give the context and look at each individual. Cardiff City phone in tomorrow, member show, and then Tuesday we'll have preview for the game and we'll look ahead to Barnsley. We'll have post-match reaction and stuff like that. I got videos on my channel coming out this week, got a couple of different things. They'll probably be later in the week though, because I got quite a lot on Monday and Tuesday. But as always, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Please spread the word about Cardiff City World. 7 days a week, Bluebirds content. Keep the faith. The Blues are still going up.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.